Have you ever had a cold? Perhaps broken a bone? Suffered the stomach flu? Experienced cuts or bruises? As the textbook points out, everyone has. Getting sick is simply a part of life. While death and dying are also a part of life, to what magnitude one experiences the various degrees of health or illness on their human microbiome is highly relativistic. While interest in health and illness have deep roots in our discipline, medical anthropology truly began growing in momentum in the 1980s. Anthropology's key research strategies, intensive fieldwork, extensive participant observation in local communities, and deep immersion in the daily lives of people and their local problems and experiences, have had positive problem solving impacts on public health issues. Medical anthropologists utilize multiple analytical perspectives to examine the wide swath of human experiences with illness or well-being in the body, past and present. Epidemiology is a term for studying the spread of disease and pathogens through the human population through an examination of medical ecology, or the interaction of diseases with the natural environment and human culture. In a broad sense, medical anthropologists use an interpretivist approach to study health systems and their meaning. More specifically, an interpretivist approach asks how human beings make sense of their health and illness, and then finds similarities or differences cross-culturally. How do various cultures feel and talk about pain, illness, suffering, birth, or death? Critical medical anthropology seeks to understand the impact of inequality on human health through two avenues. First, through the examination of socioeconomic and political systems involving race, class, gender, and sexuality, and what factors develop and sustain unequal access to one's health care. And second, by considering how health systems are their own systems of power designed to promote disparities in health by defining who is sick, who gets treated, and how the treatment is provided. Medical anthropology attempts to provide a more holistic approach to health and illness through the examination of epidemiology, power, meaning, environment, access to nutrition, education, violence, warfare, and poverty, instead of assuming health or the lack thereof are solely influenced through germs, individual behavior, and genetics. In terms of the textbook's definition of what it means to be healthy, if we were to consider this in reality, very few people on Earth can measure up to such a standard. Generally, we accept terms of health so long as it does not impede our day-to-day routine. But that does not suggest concepts of health or illness are universal across cultures. There are various cultural strategies to address pain, illness, and the promotion of health in the body. According to Guest's 2018, one key finding is that beliefs and practices are intricately intertwined with the way local cultures imagine how the world works and the relationship of an individual's body to his or her surroundings. For instance, the Ladakh region in northern India lives a sparsely populated group of villagers, some 275,000 peoples, living in altitudes of up to 5,000 meters, which is 16,500 feet, whose medical practices are deeply rooted in Tibetan Buddhism. Their healthcare is provided by approximately 200 Amchis, or traditional healers, who believe in achieving bodily and spiritual balance between the individual and surrounding universe. French anthropologist Laurent Pordet documented this typical system of ethnomedicine and how Amchis diagnose patients through questions, examination of bodily waste, and taking one's pulse. Treatments include dietary and behavioral change, both social and religious, and the use of local plants and minerals. Porday reports that AMCHI's treatments are effective for the majority of Ladaki's health problems, including respiratory difficulty, hypertension from high salt diets, and psychological stress. In contrast to ethnomedicine is biomedicine, an approach to health that is predominant in many Western cultures. According to the textbook, biomedicine seeks to apply principles of biology, physics, and chemistry to the practice of diagnosing disease and promotion of health. However, variations in biomedical care exist across westernized societies. For example, England's medical practitioners are far less concerned with blood pressure and cholesterol than their United States counterparts. Similarly, German healthcare systems utilize fewer antibiotic treatments and more on natural remedies than other Western health systems. An interesting read, however a bit dated, is Lynn Payer's 1996 book entitled Medicine and Culture: Varieties of Treatment in the United States, England, West Germany, and France. Compared the medical ethos between various European countries and the United States. Payer noted how biomedicine in the United States typically emphasizes the most extreme treatments: psychotropic drugs, cholesterol and blood pressure medication, antibiotics, C-section births, and hysterectomies, all of which are closely linked to Western economic and political expansion. Unfortunately, Payer died in 2001 from breast cancer, and an updated version of this particular book will never be available. The epistemology of Western biomedicine draws heavily on European Enlightenment values of rationality, individualism, and progress. With an emphasis on science, the individual body, and direct intervention through surgery and medication, often social experiences that might produce embodied responses are ignored. One very clear example of how cross-cultural variation of health beliefs and practices is through the examination of the biosocial event of childbirth. According to the textbook, this is because the physiology of childbirth is the same no matter where the birth occurs. But anthropological research shows how cultures around the world develop specific sociocultural beliefs about prenatal and postnatal experiences of newborns and mothers. For instance, in the United States, a popular view towards childbirth is that it is a medical procedure. Robbie Davis Floyd's 1992 termed this as the technocratic birth. This view considers women as patients who seek assistance from medical professionals to resolve a life-threatening condition. However, in Holland, birth is perceived as a natural process and often takes place at a home with no pain medication. In Sweden, it's considered a personally fulfilling achievement in which women have the liberty of deciding on their own pain control treatments. In Yucatan, Mexico, childbirth is considered stressful, yet a natural part of life, and the delivery is often done at home in the presence of family. Medical anthropology has expanded its studies to include issues of disability. Disability health spreads across a wide spectrum of impairments: limited mobility, epilepsy, autism, hearing and sight, chronic pain, dementia, and psychiatric illness. For the forum post, I wanted to make sure to provide an opportunity to link course information together. So I'd like you to consider the concept of health from a holistic perspective. What is health, and what does it mean to be healthy from a biological, cultural, and environmental perspective? How does one's health relate to other aspects of life and identity? This week's film focuses on severe mental illness in Indonesia and how Western psychiatric treatments impact an individual's experience of their mental illness. As you watch, consider how we live in a country with an abundance of pharmaceutical treatments, and those medicines are expensive by our own standards. How then does the distribution of Western pharmaceuticals impact someone with a mental illness in a developing country, either from the ability to access or not have access to proper medication and treatment? I really want to stress the word proper in terms of medication and treatment. Are Western pharmaceuticals the only answer? What socioeconomic factors come into play when understanding how family-centered communities care for the mentally ill? Also, consider how the subject of the film experiences mental illness with himself, his family, and his community. That's all I'd like to talk about for this chapter, and this also concludes our overall course. I hope you enjoyed the content and were able to gain a deeper understanding over the broad topics within the discipline of anthropology.